Most of the time, I share weekly sparks that are actionable practices and tips that you can implement into your life. Today, I'm answering your question about what happens when we implement these practices into our life on a powerful and consistent basis. Today, we are sitting down with one of my incredible clients. During our time together, she answers questions such as what was life like before coaching? How did she choose coaching over therapy and what's the difference? What happens inside of a life coaching session? And what were her 3 greatest takeaways from her coaching experience? At the very end of this interview, she has some words of wisdom for you if you are considering working with a coach. So, Brianna, I would love to start off by talking about and reflecting with me what your life was like before coaching even began.
Um, yeah, so right before coaching, I would say that um, my plate was really full. And of course, I I would say luckily got into coaching well before COVID hit. So my plate was really full with life, and I had just recently, or my mother had just recently passed away, like 5 months prior to, and we had been in communication before then, meeting through the SCORE business meetings, but I didn't have anybody in my corner until I decided to do coaching. So prior to coaching, plate was really full. Life was busy, which was normal for me, but I also had this added impact of grief that I had to go through and a lot of other issues that I was facing at the time. So it was really nice to have someone to help me navigate through that.
Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, what I hear you saying is it wasn't just like there was a lot of stuff going on, but intermixed with new emotions and really strong heightened emotions, obviously, with the passing of your mother. And so to have, and you use the phrase like someone wasn't really in my corner to help me navigate all of that yet. And so tell me specifically, when you were looking at coaching, was there something specific in all of that that was going on that really drew you to consider coaching? Was there a specific problem you were trying to solve, or just that general sense of like, I need someone with me on this ride?
I think it was more I needed someone with me on this ride, but I didn't know that at the time. And so as I was looking through the questions and going through them, I realized, and I was like, oh, I think I got the very thing I needed, but that's not exactly what in my mind, what I was going for. And so I needed support in that season, or everybody always needs support, but I particularly needed support in that season of my life as I was going through so many transitional things. And when I signed on, I knew it was, part of it was I connected with you and I was like, okay, I think she knows her stuff. And we had a few conversations before coaching and I was like, oh, I need this in my life. And then I also am a life coach. And so I thought, why not also be in the hot seat, so to speak, as a client? So I understand what it's that perspective of a client for when it's my turn to do some life coaching. Mm-hmm. And so it was a combination of that. I also had my purpose, my vision, my goals on my plate, and I had everything in my hands and everything. And I didn't know how to navigate through having my hands and everything and what to do first and what to do second and how to organize that.
And so with that idea of like, I just need support, there are many different ways to seek support, right? Through a mastermind or through therapy or through coaching or through like a coffee with friend. So what led you to decide or use the statement when you were saying, when we were in communication before officially signing on as a one-on-one client, you're like, oh, I need this. What was it about coaching specifically that was like, oh, I need this?
Right. And so for me, I had been to therapy before. And so therapy was helpful in that season for my emotional shenanigans. And then, but when I talked to you, I think, and just for me as a believer, as a woman of faith, like you said some things that God had told me. And I was like, how did she know that? And so for me, that was a sign that I was like, okay, I think I need to work with her. And then I felt a confirmation in my heart about it. And that once I get the confirmation, that I make a move. And so that's what I did. It was definitely a leap of faith, as we both know, but mm-hmm. But it was probably one of the best moves I made in the last few years. So.
And so that leap of faith, was there something that almost prevented you from saying yes, even though you're like, oh my gosh, she's speaking to me, this is on my heart, of like, this is it. But then was there something that came up that was like, maybe, I don't know.
Yes, it was the finances. So I had, for the past few years, have not been doing the best of my finances, which we also worked on in coaching. But I didn't have the monthly payment and I didn't know where it was going to come from. But I knew God told me to do this and I was going to do it. And so I decided to take a leap of faith and I signed on. So the funny story is, if you don't mind me telling, is that once I signed on, I would say within a few days, I was at a restaurant department, like a warehouse, getting some things for myself. And I walked past an envelope. Well, this envelope had the exact amount of money that I needed for the first month of coaching. And so I immediately knew, like, okay, I already got my confirmation. This is my physical manifestation after I took this leap of faith. So I knew I had to use the money for that purpose. And then right after that, I realized I had a little bit of more, I would say, access or resources that I could use. And it all just came together. And it was like what was left in the amount of resources was the exact amount for the 6-month contract. So I was like, God took care of it.
That story, we can tell it so many times. It is the most incredible story. And what I just pieced together right now that I haven't in the past is that you said yes, and then the resources showed up.
Yes.
You agreed to coach, and then you found the envelope. It wasn't the other way around.
Yes. And that was a lesson for me in my faith, is that, faith without works is dead, is that what we say all the time in our world. And it was an action. I took a leap of faith, and then God provided. And that's how it goes.
And you not only took the leap of faith to sign on to coaching, but you've done that so many times throughout our coaching experience. And it shows, because your life is transforming in so many exciting ways. It doesn't mean it's not scary. It can still be scary. But I think what has stood out to me just as your coach throughout our journey is how brave you are to act in alignment with what calls you, of like hearing something and your faith is so strong to say, if it's calling me, like I'm going to show up for it. And that, I think that's a true gift of yours, to be able to do that. And the benefits, the gifts that follow are exponential.
Thank you. I realized too that like this working with you was preparation for my end goal, which we had talked about, which was moving to Norway. And so I feel that taking those leaps of faith with you was preparation, because that is just a leap of faith. It's been interesting, and I kind of pieced together towards the end of our contract that I was like, oh, this was all practice. And I was like, oh, wow, this is so cool. Like these little leaps of faith, which were huge to me, but in the grand scheme of things, as I go further in life, they're actually just baby steps of faith that it was required for me to be able to just leap and trust, leap and trust, leap and trust. And I realized that had become a part of alignment. Which we had discussed as well. So I feel like I was able to like now understand purpose and alignment and get those pieces together.
I love that as like practice for the bigger and bigger things. And almost like it's always like that, strengthening that muscle as you grow, and then you're going to strengthen the even stronger muscle to grow even more. So with that, would you give me a description of coaching with me?
I've had a health coach before through my job. And so, I always found the person, like, if you ever have support, it's always helpful. And so working with you was, I would say, more than helpful, because I got more out of it than what I expected. And so coaching with you, I was excited every time that we had a call, or that we communicated via text or email, or however, those in-between moments. And it was good to have somebody in my corner invested in what I was doing. That was just for me. Like, I'm so involved in everybody else's life, the people, I got family, I got friends, and they're all supportive, but I needed someone who specifically could get me on my track. And that's what this was doing. And it made me feel very like sturdy, like stable in my clarity, stable in my direction, my purpose, and where I was trying to go. And it got me to a place of being able to like make my own decisions. And I wasn't expecting that with coaching. It helped me grow up a little bit. So there, like, a lot of maturity came out of this. I remember opening up to you about some other things that I had kind of kept to the side, because it wasn't really coaching related, to my purpose, but actually it was holding me back. And so when I got to that place, I just felt like this freedom, like I could fly, and I could take these leaps and bigger leaps of faith and these steps along the path that I was going on during that coaching. So coaching was incredible. It was a little magical as well, because we had so much laughter. We had so many aha moments on both of our ends. So it was cool to know that you could learn from me as much as I could learn from you. I love that you also kept track of everything. And so like, you are really great at reflecting. So if I said something, I forget everything I said. I'm like, you could tell me something. I'm like, what did I just do? How did I come to that conclusion? Unless it's something that really sticks. And you would always bring it back up and reflect it to me, but it was so needed. And I'm like, I did say that, or, oh, I do recall that moment, or even at the end when you recalled, like, do you remember you said this at the beginning, what you would tell your 6 month self from now? And I was like mind blown. Like, I was like, I said that. It wasn't about me, but it was just the fact that like you brought my strengths to light and you kept them in the light. And you also reminded me to shine.
So would you, if you doesn't come to mind, that's okay too, but to really make it tangible, can you think of a specific moment when you, for instance, reach out via text messaging or email, or like a moment where you're like, oh, it's so nice to have specifically Marin as my coach rather than like the family and friends or other support systems?
Ooh, during like in the support part in between.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, the one I'm thinking of is like when I was going to get my car. I had been in a battle with this dealership for a while, and I ended up not getting that vehicle. But I remember going there and taking a picture and sending it to you, and you were like so excited, and you were just like, "Do it, do it, do it!" You know, like it was the encouragement of like, "Go for it." And even though it didn't work out for me on my end, it was my fault. But it was just like having someone there to like say, "Take that leap of faith." Like it doesn't matter. Like do it. No, it doesn't matter what anybody else has to say. Like just do it. And to be, I'll say this: it was helpful to have someone support me in my cray.
I love it.
So because I embrace my cray. I always tell people embrace your cray because that is authentically who you are. And I am the leap of faith girl. I am like faith is one of my top. It's probably my top value, and I discovered that in my education program. But to have someone embrace my cray with me, you can't beat that.
Yes, I love that. And I think what, like for me, and I'm kind of thinking of my own experiences as a client too, is like what differentiates coaching is that it's intentionally a one-way street. And so it's like I'm there for you, cheering you on. I know you on such a level of when you were at that dealership of like, I know why that's important. We've talked about like what got you to that point. So unlike a family or friend who might like, you know, with good intention have some protection over you, or like, well, did you consider these other things? It's like, I've been through that with you already. We already know, and now it's just time to celebrate. I can bring myself back to that moment too. And then the moment later on when you did send me a picture of your new car, because you did get a new car, and I was like, I was so excited.
I was so happy that day, and I was like, I knew you would be proud. And it was like, it was good to have someone there. And actually what came to me as you were talking, what came to me was like coaching is like having a track coach running with you or right behind you or on the next side of you in your lane. And you could pass the baton or you could pause and take a breath, but you were like right there with me at all times. And that's what I would say life coaching is. It's like having a track coach on the side of the track that is running with you or walking with you whatever level you're at, they're with you along the way. But that moment of me getting my car, I was so happy. I was so happy. I was like, I don't want to brag, but I definitely got to shine because this is a nice car.
Yes. I was so proud of you. And I just got chills with that description of running with you and being right there alongside. I'm glad you felt that because that's definitely my intention. Can you share with me what happened because of coaching?
I figured out that I was able to stand on my own as a result of coaching. And I'm starting to realize that a lot of my purpose and going forward and the things that I have to do, it's just going to be me. Not me as in without anybody else, but me making the decision for myself. I'm sure there'll be people around to support me. I'll build a team along the way and those things. But in my current state, I had to kind of remove what I was so familiar with. And coaching helped me do that safely. Without seeming very odd around other people or just making the decision like, honestly, I had to step away from my church. That's my home base. You know, that's my safety place. And I had to step away from my church, and that was one of my big goals. And it happened, but I felt so free in that moment. But I was able to do it like I made the decision on my own. I wasn't going back and forth and talking to like family about it. I literally was like, it's time for me to make this decision. And I hadn't done that in a long time, or I don't know if ever really, that confidently. I'll say that I've made my own decisions, but not as confidently because there's so many people around me whose opinions matter to me that, but I got to a place where I was able to say like my opinion and God's opinion and Marin's opinion matters the most. And it wasn't that you gave me your opinion, but you were just there always like in my ear, like you get to make the decision. I'm proud of you, whatever you do, like it's what you're gonna do. So like you and then you would go back and like track it, like you started here, then you got your clarity, you got your confirmation, and you made the decision. There's your alignment. Do it, girl. And I'm like, yes. So coaching was like, it really made me stand out and stand up for myself.
Oh, what I was thinking is, can you, this is kind of a little bit of a guess, but if you imagine yourself today as how you are and all the amazing progress and transformations that have happened, and then imagine what today would be like if you hadn't said yes to coaching. Can you imagine what that would be?
No, I would probably still be at my church. I would probably have a car, but not the nice one. I probably would have settled in some areas of my life, and I would still feel stuck. I would not be tracking anything because tracking was a big goal of mine, and I started tracking. I would not have tracked on my own, even though I knew what to do, and I still struggle with it. But the fact that I had someone in my corner helped. So without having you there, like there would have been a lot of structural pieces that I needed to move forward that would have not been in place, and I still would have been in the same place wallowing over the same old past issues and not moving forward. I've been thinking forward, but not moving forward.
And so now with those structural aspects in place, then what does the next few months look like compared to what they would have looked like had you not done coaching?
Yeah, so what just came to mind is, as you know, I'm a probation officer, and I pretty much life coach my clients. And so one of the examples I give them, and I may have mentioned this to you before, but is the stable table. And I always say that there's 4 legs to the table, and you need those 4 foundational pieces in your life in order to function, just to be stable. What are those 4 pieces? And so coaching helped me build those 4 pieces or get the table sturdy. I think I had 3, and I probably needed that last leg, whatever that was. Maybe it was my faith or something, or the financial, I don't know, whatever it was. Once I got those in place, and I always tell my clients, you can't even talk about what goes on top of the table until you get those 4 pieces in place. And so now with coaching, I can talk about the top of the table. And so I got to use my own, advice to my clients with myself, with you. And so now moving forward, like prior to coaching, the table would have been slanted because it would have been missing a leg, and anything I would have tried to build would have fallen off. And so now that it's stable, I can build or design, even just dream and design what can go on top of the table, like a vase or this, or if I, graduation from my doctorate program or moving to Nori, those things are the embellishments and the decorations that go on top of my table. So now I feel like I can start thinking about the table and what goes on top and how to make my life pretty.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And I almost get the sense of like, and this is natural. This is all of us. We do this, that before it was like almost you were trying to put things on top or like starting to dream about what goes on top. And it was, you needed that time to get that 4th leg rather than stay there. Like if coaching hadn't happened, what I hear you saying is like, I would still be trying to put things on top when like and not paying attention to that 4th leg that was really needed. So with all of this, would you recommend coaching with Yes and why, if so?
Yes, and I
Yes.
Let's throw it back at you. Absolutely, yes. And the reason is because like Myron, you are amazing. And you are so helpful and you are so invested. If you were that invested in me, I could only imagine what your other clients are experiencing. And so even though we pay into it, it's like the investment really is what you put inside of us. And so that's the payback. So I don't feel like there was a expenditure once you get involved. It's scary at first, but once you get involved in coaching, like, the money isn't an issue because you're investing in yourself. And when you invest in yourself, like that's major, and you take it more seriously, and then it adds more value to your function and what you're doing and who you are and how you see yourself. And so to know that I personally invested, I don't even remember how much it cost because the cost doesn't matter because I'm worthy. And so when you realize that with coaching, you can't pass up the opportunity or any other personal investment that you can make. So yes, and to me was the perfect investment for myself.
The journey that we go on is one that only you and I have gone on. And so I agree that there's this friendship, there's like a true, and I'm so glad you feel that. Like I really am so invested in you, in all of my clients. And like you said, not only for the 6 months or however long we end up working together, but that journey is so unique to us that we'll be able to reference that forever. And we know those experiences that we went through and the growth that you experienced and all the visions that you had. And then, you know, a month, years down the line, you can say, Maren, guess what I just did? Like, I can't wait to receive the picture of you in Norway. I'm going to be so excited.
Whenever I get there, I'm going to land us and I'm just going to send you pictures, going to say #home.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I could cry just thinking about it. It's going to be so amazing. So you mentioned in your description, you said that I can't imagine anyone who wouldn't be a good fit, but who would be like the really, really good fit? Like who would you, if you were talking to them and they said something specific and you'd be like, oh, you know what? You should talk to Maren.
Anyone who's afraid. Anyone who is afraid of themselves, afraid of their purpose, or afraid of the next step. I would say to those who just got stuck in their own fear, which typically fear is just a fear of yourself in some aspect. But I would say anybody who is afraid. That's the word that came to mind, and I'm just gonna stick with that. I had something completely different written down, and I'm like, I don't even know what I wrote. But no, I think it's anybody who just has a little bit of fear or even a lot of fear, and you just need someone to help you get the facts and talk through it. Because fear is really just a lack of information, you know, for certain things in your life. And so now that Norway was big, but now that after talking with you, come to the terms that it's just a few steps away, I'm like, oh, you know, and I'm like, I'm not nearly as fearful as I was when I started. I will say that, like, and I clearly, because I've been taking leaps of faith. So I would say the person who deals with a lot of fear in their life, to have you as a coach would be so thankful at the end of the process. That they would feel that it is such a valuable experience. Or anyone who's trying to figure out their purpose and alignment and is just afraid of how to even put that together, because it is major. Purpose is a major move, and purpose is not a destination, it's a process. And so that's what I've discovered along this process as well, is it took away the fear of purpose and made purpose a reality and like something I'm doing every day.
Especially if someone is afraid, like if that's their kind of lens that they're viewing life, how might me or you talk to them in a way that helps? Because then coaching probably feels a little scary too, or a lot scary. And so what would you say to them to maybe ease that fear or to like help them take that leap of faith?
When I come to big decisions, I always ask why do it and then why not. And the big decisions that I'm supposed to take, usually when I say why not, I can't answer that question. So if you come to a point where you cannot answer why not, then it's time to go and take that leap. And fear is a part of the process. Fear is not something that will just completely vanish and vamoose and go away. Fear is an indicator that something new is happening and your body's just recognizing it, but it doesn't know how to register it. So fear is not a bad thing, it's a tool to use. So if you use your tool of fear to take a leap, you won't be disappointed, and you will at least have said, at least I tried it. If for any reason it doesn't work out for you, at least you took a leap and at least you tried it, and that little bit of fear left, because now you're going to take more leaps of faith.
Yeah, like that's what's possible is facing that fear. And how you phrased it is like utilizing that fear to do something and move forward. And in just like you were talking earlier about you practicing that time and time again, then you'll be able to do it in bigger and bigger ways moving forward. And same for this person.
Instead of letting the fear hit you or punch you or knock you down or stop you, pick up the fear and take it with you. Pick up the fear, say, fear, where you're coming with me, and faith, you're coming with me too. We're going to figure this all out together.
I love that image. Yes. Like, all right, you're in too. Come on, let's go.
You're getting coached as well, fear. We're all in this together, okay?
Yes. Amazing. You have shared so many amazing points, and your journey, your story, and what's next for you is all so full. Like it's just like that ray of sunshine and like a whole sun. Like you are just vibrant, and the transformation, of course, that you and I really only know has been remarkable in so many ways. And with that, is there anything that we missed today? Anything else you might want to say to someone who's listening to this, who's considering coaching or just is inspired by your story?
I would end with Maren is powerful. So be ready. Sign up with Maren, you're going to experience a little bit of power that comes from her, and it's going to ignite with your power, and there's going to be an explosion. So it's exciting. It's an amazing journey. It's a journey that really never really ends with Marin. So when you do sign on with her, you're gaining a brand new friend, a new life coach, and a new support system that you will not regret. So I highly encourage you to sign up with Yes and because you won't be disappointed.
Thank you so much. Seriously, your words, like, they touch my heart, and I know that they're gonna help someone out there who's thinking about it and scared. They're gonna come on because of you, and they're gonna be a better person and ignite the world in the way that only they can because of your words. So thank you for sharing today.
Thank you so much, Marion. I appreciate you.
Yes, I appreciate you as well.